Backlum, everyone. It is, in fact, your boy, Sir Egward, and welcome to episode 13 of Cracking the Shell. You might notice that there is no one next to me. That's because at the time of this recording, there have been no other guests confirmed for the moment. Just waiting on people to get back to me. It's kind of frustrating sometimes, I'm not going to lie to you. But I didn't want to leave 3 weeks between episodes, so yeah. I can't promise that these are going to be out weekly or monthly or whatever. It's just when they can be filmed and edited. I am generally flexible with filming and stuff, but I don't want everything to just be a solo episode. So we're gonna try this out for now, and maybe if this is good, people like it, I'll do more. But yeah, I suppose for the debut one, I'll introduce myself. Obviously, you know me as my internet pseudonym Sir Edward. My human person name is John. I'm 27 from the Forth Valley region in Scotland. I'm a metal fan since my teenage years, ever since I was a wee lad with a head full of hope and, funnily enough, a head full of hair. But started off with a lot of Disturbed, Korn, Slipknot, that kind of thing. And just through discovery and people showing me things, I found like Iron Maiden, found Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Rush, Cannibal Corpse. Pretty much name a band, I found it that way. But sorry, frog in my throat there. It's just been a ever evolving spiral of music and something I've been very passionate about for nearly 10 years now. It's really cool. I My first gig was in 2016. It was at the Barrowlands Ballroom in Glasgow. It was the Sabaton and Ailstorm co-headline tour with main support Bloodbound. That was the first show I ever went to. It was meant to be Motorhead, Saxon, and Girls' School at the end of 2015, but we all know what happened at the end of 2015. Rest in peace, Lemmy, one of the best to ever do it. That was meant to be the first show. I got tickets for Christmas, and then 2 days after was announced that Lemmy died. So that's a bit shit. But yeah. My favorite concert, I would have to say, is probably Dead of Winterfest this year, just because it was all homegrown and wholesome, and everybody on that lineup killed it. Everybody behind the scenes killed it. Shout out Kenny and Kendo from Brain Bath for organizing it, and can't wait for next year. But yeah, gigs are fun. My next one is going to be the Hellripper show on the 14th at Slay, which is nearly sold out, by the way. Hellripper, disposable and tempered, so it's going to be a nice wee thrashathon. It's going to be cool and good and stuff. I am looking to get James from Hellripper on the podcast soon. It's just lining everything up. That's the only one that you're going to get for now. That's the only one. Is I assure you, the guests that I have been speaking to, I think you're really going to like. It's just a case of getting everything organized now and when they're free and to film this stuff. But in order to make this not just me kind of stood here like an idiot, I say stood, I'm sitting as I usually am in these. Over the last wee while, I've gathered some questions and stuff just from Instagram, which is I'll do these Q&As regularly-ish. Might do them more for solo episodes, I might not. It just depends, really. But the first one is, how do I feel metal will progress in sound in the future? I think it's definitely going to branch off, I think. There's going to be that one sect that you're hearing a lot of stuff sound like now, bands like Sleep Token, Spirit Box. Very much that kind of very polished, very clean, not sterile, but not the most organic sound. Um, Bands like that, I think they're going to continue. and they're only going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, look at Spirit Box and Sleep Token. Sleep Token are selling at arenas now, and it's kind of mental. And Spirit Box are taking main stage slots at festivals and selling at headliners. I think they actually sold out the Barlands the last time they were here. I think that was with North Lane and Brand of Sacrifice, I think. I think that was the lineup. I didn't get to see it, and I'm gutted because I love all those bands, especially Brand of Sacrifice. I saw them with Traitors, Enterprise Earth. I think Runes of Saturn were on that bill as well. Yeah, that was just before COVID. I got to meet Dan. That was one of the last tours that Dan did with Enterprise Earth. Got to meet Kyle, a Brand of Sacrifice, Tyler from Traitors, who is, I stan him, honestly. He's one of my favorite vocalists. Nobody else sounds like him. Could say the same about Adam Warren from Oceano, Sven from Aborted. But yeah, I think that you're going to have kind of a split between bands that sound like that, like Brand of Sacrifice and Spirit Box and that kind of thing. And you're going to have a lot of these kind of old school revival bands. Like, especially when it comes to old school death metal, you've got all these. I mean, look at Scotland, prime example. You've got all these bands that have that same old school mentality, but it's like a modern, like a paint, not so much with the production, but more in attitude and songwriting. Got bands like Penny Coffin that use all those really intense, like atmospheric industrial sounds and like the shifted vocals with loads of effects on them, which they pull off live. So it's really cool. So there's definitely, I think, going to be a split with that and the like more old school sounding bands. I think there's going to be a split between them. And I hope they're all successful. I only talk about music I like on Instagram or on this podcast. So I like it all. I like Spirit Box, I like Undeath. Just as two, I suppose, opposing examples. But yeah, I think that's how it's going to go. Obviously, you can't predict trends or how popular a band's going to be or if they're going to lose popularity. But a lot of these bands that, I mean, like Lorna Shore, prime example, they've been grinding away for over a decade. And they deserve the success, I think. Even after like they split with Tom Barber and then they got CJ and then CJ was an alleged piece of shit. Alleged. I don't want to get into that shit here. We're not doing deathcore moments. It's not what this channel's about. I'm just here to enjoy the music. But and then they got well, and then they went viral, and then they put out Pain Remains, which is one of the deathcore albums of the decade. I don't care. It's a beautiful album. I love it to death. Weirdly enough, I prefer the instrumental version. Not because Will's not a bad vocalist, but I think with the production, his vocals bury a lot of the guitar layers, and that's something that I'm not huge on in modern deathcore. Is that can't hear the riffs because that's what I'm about. Them big stinky riffs, big fat breakdowns. That's what I'm about. But all these like vocal layering and vocal gymnastics, it just gets in my head, and there's only so much of it I can listen to at once. But still got love for bands like Lorna Shore, like Distant. I love Distant. Distant are so good. I've seen them 3 times now, and can't wait for them to come back to the UK. I saw them with, I think it was Despised Icon first, and then on their headline tour they did last year with Extortionist. I found them. They are really good. I love the Extortionist. I love Extortionist. They're really good. It's like Alice in Chains deathcore. It's like really emotional. Like listen to the new album, which is definitely on my end of year list. Um, it's really good. Just kind of rambling. This is a new thing for me. I'll be entirely honest, because normally I have somebody to bounce off of, but don't at the moment. But who knows? Yeah. Anyway, to we did a lot of rambling from the initial question of how do I think metal will sound and progress in the future. The TLDR, the too long didn't read. The short answer is it's going to get better, and there's going to be definitely something for everyone. Whether you like organic old school stuff or the new school stuff, There's going to be something for everyone, I think. Anyway, let's see. Do I have any more questions? Oh, here's one. What was that one riff that got me into slam? That comes from my boy Luke Lockley. Shout out Luke. Shout out Penny Coffin. Shout out Unhallowed Void. Shout out Desecrated Extension. Go bump that new EP. It is brutal as shit. I love it. It's definitely on my end of year list for EPs. Absolutely. But the one riff that got me into slam. Hmm. Actually, now that I think about it, I can actually remember it really well. It was the intro to Life Sustainment to Continue Mutilation from Acranius's debut album, When Mutation Becomes Homicidal, that one with the weird polar bear on it in that Arctic facility. I remember hearing that song and I didn't know what slam was. I didn't really know because I was listening to deathcore a lot. And then I found Acranius, which their later stuff is quite deathcore-y. But that first one, I found that one, listened to that album, liked it, and then their first vocalist got replaced by Kevin, who played on three more albums and a couple EPs, and he recently left last month to just focus on his family, which absolutely fair enough. Only got respect for that. But before that, they got the additional vocalist with Marcus from Science of Sleep, who I've never really listened to. I think I've maybe heard it, but don't really remember it. I need to go back and listen to it. But they kind of went towards a more kind of beat down deathcore direction, which I like beat down and deathcore, so no complaints here. But Acranius Life Sustainment to Continue Mutilation, that music video where they're all like squatting over the POV camera, which just looks stupid, but it's funny, it's cute, you know? It's like kids being kids, and they've been around for over 10 years and they're putting in the work and they're playing the big stages, and fair play to them. I always got love for Acranius, for sure. Let's see, anything else? Do I want my channel to be solely music related or do I want to cover and branch out to different topics? Um, I think music's always going to be a big part of this channel and like any kind of social media content I have. It's always going to be a big part of it because it's a big part of my life, but I have other interests outside of music, as I'm sure everybody listening to this does as well. And mine are mainly video games. I like video games. I don't really play a lot of them as much just because adulting is hard. But I still like playing video games as much as modern video games make me feel ill with all the constant monetization and they're being so generic and boring and the same thing over and over again. Like Call of Duty is the one that sticks out to me. Everything has been the exact same for like 5 years now, and it makes me upset. Here's before we get on to hot takes, here's my hot take. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 ruined Call of Duty. I'll die in that hill. Because don't get me wrong, the game's good. It was refreshing take on something that had been quite stale before that, with like Black Ops 4 and that like with Black Ops 4 especially, it wasn't great in any front, especially with the no campaign, which is stupid. But Modern Warfare 2019 to me definitely ruined the game. And then with the big shift in Warzone and selling bundles and operators, and it's taken any of the soul out. I was speaking to a friend of mine, I think it was yesterday, the day before when I was filming this, um, about how Call of Duty, every game had its own look, its own feel, and it felt unique to each other. Like COD 4 to Modern Warfare, COD 4, sorry, Modern Warfare to World at War looked and felt completely different with the guns, with the color palette, with the maps, with the story. Like COD 4 story, really good. Love it. World at War story, absolutely beautiful. Probably my favorite COD campaign, going from the Japanese, the American story to the Russian story. And then after you finish the final mission, it loads into zombies, which is a really cool Easter egg, which I wish they'd do more of that and take more risks like that. And then after that, you've got World at War to Modern Warfare 2. Again, completely different, but still really good. Modern Warfare 2 story wasn't fantastic. Then Modern Warfare 2 to Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1, absolutely 10 out of 10 game. Easily, probably my favorite overall Call of Duty, with the story, with like the Cold War and corporate espionage and corruption and hunting down corrupt officials and leaders. And then they do the same thing again in the Elite 5, that Pentagon Zombies map. And Modern Warfare Black Ops 1 and some Modern Warfare 3. I like Modern Warfare 3. I know that's kind of a mediocre one with a lot of COD fans, but I like Modern Warfare 3's story. Nice wrap up to finally finding and killing Makarov. Then I really like the multiplayer. I think that's the only multiplayer I've actually prestiged in. But yeah, that's and then the Spec Ops with the survival mode. I really enjoyed playing that. And then then you get to Black Ops 2, which Black Ops 2 is really good. The story was fantastic. Multiplayer was really good. Zombies had some of the best maps it's ever had. And then after, I'd say COD Ghosts, which COD Ghosts and the new dog model, which is the only thing that people remember from that game. After that, it just kind of became sterile and boring and it all looked the same. Like people can hate COD Ghosts, that's fine. Parts of it I do hate. Like Extinction is mid. The campaign was dog shit. Multiplayer I really enjoyed. It's kind of brought the best elements of Black Ops 2 with really cool maps that their score streaks, they all did different things depending on the map, which you don't see that in any other game. And that's something that people need to remember is that COD Ghost did do cool stuff, which is buried under a pile of shit. But yeah, pretty much I'd say COD Ghost was the last innovative COD game. Outside of Black Ops 3, because their zombies mode was really good, but everything other than that, nah, terrible. Everything was boring and mid, outside of maybe the odd side mode like Zombies, Infinite Warfare. Zombies is good. But yeah, that was kind of a long rant into COD. But to answer the question, I do want to cover more stuff than just music. Music's never going to go away, ever. But I'd like to cover more stuff, like maybe do some video game stuff. Or I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan as well, which I know the kind of in metal thing is either Warhammer or like Magic the Gathering. In Frozen Soul, Magic the Gathering bit. I love that shit. I'd love to just pass two people fucking Yu-Gi-Oh dual discs and have them play fucking Dark Magician and Blue Eyes. I think that'd be funny as hell. But I do want to cover stuff. It just depends on if people like it. But who knows? Maybe it's just a case of whether or not I have the time to do it and I'm able to figure out like properly recording stuff, especially for other stuff that's like music or Yu-Gi-Oh! But I would say those are the things I'd want to cover. If you're interested in that, then please let me know in either the comments or on Instagram or whatever. It would be good to know. Give you guys something more interesting. Just me speaking bollocks for 45 minutes to an hour and a half. But podcast isn't going to go away. Might be like on a hiatus if don't really get guests, but it will come. It's going to come soon, and it's just a case of hoping everyone gets back to me. So, yeah. Let's see. I'll also put out a thing for hot takes. What's your metal or like in general hot take? Someone's put in my complete honesty and in my heart, soul, and existence, Anthrax is the best Big Four band. I both agree with this and disagree with this. Anthrax, they've definitely had less peaks and valleys than the rest of the Big Four. Like, their worst albums are nothing compared to the worst Megadeth albums, the worst Metallica albums, the worst Slayer albums. Still bad though. Still really bad. But they've also never really had that iconic album outside of, Among the Living, which is still a banger album. But they also don't have dickheads in that band. They don't have a Kerry King. They don't have a Lars. They don't have a Dave Mustaine. They don't have that. I know that think maybe Joey Belladonna has came under flack for saying stuff. I don't know. Don't really pay attention to all the metal gossip, as it were. And he said this and he and she said that, and I don't care. I don't care. We go to metal to get rid of all this TMZ shite, but it is what it is. So for this one, it's not a thumbs up or thumbs down. It's like a sure. It's a this. I agree and disagree. If I'm picking any of those to listen to the American Big Four, it would probably be Metallica first, then probably Anthrax, then Megadeth, then Slayer. That's how I'd rank them. Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer. Fight me or don't. Actually, don't fight me. I'm a giant baby and bruise easy. So that's one hot take. There's another one here. Let me find it. Black metal has the potential to be the most diverse metal subgenre, but black metal purists are so prominent that they don't allow this progression. I can agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Because black metal isn't so much rooted in a particular sound and more of an aesthetic and production, it gives you a lot of wiggle room to experiment musically. But everybody knows first wave black metal bands. I mean, look at bands like Venom and Bathory and Mayhem. If you're not adhering to those rules, you're not true cult or whatever. But you've also got bands like Cradle of Filth and Dimmu Borgir in the second wave that put in synths and operatic vocals and different guitar riffs that really pissed off a lot of the old heads, which any music that pisses off the boomers or the old guard or the gatekeepers is something that it's going to perk my ears up. That's something I really like is when people do stuff that pisses off the establishment, because that's what metal and angry guitar music is all about. It's a giant middle finger to the establishment and what's right and what's wrong. So I definitely think so. I think black metal does have potential to be the most diverse metal subgenre, but I think every subgenre has potential to be the most diverse. But it is with metalheads constantly boxing everything in that any kind of experimentation usually just gets shut down unless people actually just open their mind and listen to it. Because you'll either like it or you won't like it. If somebody doesn't like it, there's no point in preaching to the choir. But I will give anything a go, and I tell anybody like, your music's good, your music's mid, music's shit. I'll tell you that. I'll be entirely honest. But I think yeah, black metal does have potential to be the most diverse subgenre, but the purists don't make change happen, don't allow the progression. It's kind of depressing, but that's just gatekeepers for you. I'm not a fan of gatekeeping. I don't like gatekeeping. Let people do what they want. Let people do stuff that sounds cool and that they want to do. But yeah, I'd say most I have to say about that. Let's see. The other day I put out a thing for like make me choose between two bands and like fave albums by bands. I got one here. It's Dying Fetus or Suffocation and favorite album from both. Wow, that's a tough one. But I would have to say it's a tough one because Dying Fetuses have always been consistent, but the drawback from that consistency is that, well, you don't have super valleys, you don't have really high peaks either. You don't have an album that's like, this is the top of the mountain or the highest point, but you also don't have albums that are the worst thing in the planet and that nobody likes. Whereas Suffocation, they have a lot of high points, but the albums that people don't like, they don't like. But out of the two of them, I would have to say, I love them both. It's so hard. I've seen both as well. I would have to say Suffocation for that one. Suffocation. As for favorite albums, Suffocation, it would be Pierce from Within. And Dying Fetus, it would be. Hmm, that's a tough one. I actually don't remember any off the top of my head. So I'm going to just quickly look at their catalogue. 1 second. That's the joys of podcasts and it being unedited. But my favorite Dying Fetus album, I would say, is a tie between Stop at Nothing or Reign Supreme. Out of the two of them, I would say probably Stop at Nothing. So my favorite Suffocation album, Pierce from Within. My favorite Dying Fetus album, Stop at Nothing. Followed very closely by Reign Supreme. Though the last two albums have also been killer. Make Them Beg for Death and The Wrong One to Fuck With, which is still the hardest album title in the game. I've seen both. I saw Dying Fetus and their headliner last year with Frozen Soul, Nasty, and Cabal. There's another side note. Do more mixed genre shows and tours. Because it's fun. Got a brutal death metal band, got an old school death metal band, a hardcore band, and a deathcore band, with that last example. Dying Fetus, Frozen Soul, Nasty, Cabal. Brutal death metal, old school death metal, hardcore, deathcore. It's a little bit of everything from the headliner, but not a lot of musical crossover to the point where by the time the headliner gets on stage, you want to go to bed. Especially like people like me, and me being getting older. There's only so much I can take in an evening, especially if it's 4 or 5 bands that all sound basically the same. Do more mixed genre stuff. Get some deathcore bands playing with some hardcore bands, get some slam bands playing with some death metal bands, thrash metal bands playing with metalcore bands, whatever it is. Mix it up. It makes it a lot more interesting. And it makes for a better show. And you can meet better people, meet more interesting people. And it's just overall a better time. And it's something different. Right, last one of these this or that questions. Duckface Killings or Tropical Sun? That's two Fulci albums. Duckface Killings being the newest Fulci album, and Tropical Sun being from, I think, 2021. I'm just going to quickly fact check myself on that because I don't trust myself because I'm dumb and a moron. But let's see, Fulci. 2019. Never mind, I'm an idiot. So Tropical Sun or Duckface Killings. Just because I've not really listened to a lot of Tropical Sun, I like what I've heard, but Duckface Killings is still fresh in my head. I'm gonna go with Duckface Killings the now. But both albums, from what I've heard, are fantastic because it's Fulci. They're just really good old school death metal with horror samples and groove in there, and it's just really good as a whole. But yeah, that about wraps it up. I don't think I have anything else. Oh no, here's another hot take. Chris Barnes' vocals are better than George. No, that's the short answer. Like Chris Barnes, right? This is a special case because throughout the 90s, man was one of the best in the game. First 4 Cannibal albums, first 3 6 Feet Under albums, fucking brilliant. I still like a lot of 6 Feet Under, mainly the very early stuff. Because after Maximum Violence, it's like, let's not. After that, in the 2000s, pretty much up until the 2010s, 6 Feet Under was fucking dog shit. Whereas Cannibal Corpse were just getting better and better, especially with George being in the fray. 6 Feet Under, they did get better with Undead and Unborn, but then they've just went dog shit after that. They had a good thing going with Undead and Unborn, and then it just dive bombed again, mainly because of Chris Barnes. And what's depressing is that he gets such talented musicians to play in these albums, but he ruins them. It's like Jack Owen from Cannibal Corpse and Deicide, one of the best death metal songwriters on the planet. Marco, Lord Marco, one of the best drummers who's played in The Faithless and Rings of Saturn and Christ and Brain Drill and Christ knows what else. Ray Sui from Cannabis Corpse, Jeff Huel from Brain Drill and a bunch of other stuff, one of the most insane bass players on the planet. Got pedigree musicians, and then you have Chris Barnes, who just ruins everything with a fucking Meanwhile, George, Corpse Grinder, for people who don't know, which if you don't know, how do you not know? He's just getting better and better. He sounds consistent, he sounds huge, and he's just a nice guy. You know, he's going around to Walmarts and Targets and getting all these stuffed toy machines and donating them to charity. How wholesome is that? It's the most wholesome shit on the planet. Meanwhile, you've got Chris Barnes being angry old man yelling at the sky going, "Modern death metal makes me physically ill." It's like, Christ alive, mate, get with the times. And saying that, I did recently read somewhere that he's stopped smoking weed, so maybe he'll actually be semi-tolerable as a musician and a personality. Who knows? But Chris Barnes' vocals are not better. Now, if we're going back to the 90s, I would say, yeah, I would say they're better in the 90s, but we're not in the 90s. This is 2024. Right now, Chris Barnes' vocals are fucking dog shit. George Corpse Grinders, he's on top of his game. So, yes and no. Yes, if this was the 90s, but now, no. George is still better. Not dying that hill. Can't believe I forgot that. Honeybug is the best band in the timeline of the whole universe. Put out some fucking music then. Jokes. I'm sure it will be. I like sludgy grunge. Shout out to Honeybug. I'm sure they'll put out something good if and when they actually decide to put something out. Feel free to do that, by the way. But that's everything I have. I want to thank all of you so much for watching. Hopefully, the next episode will have a guest. Like, comment, subscribe, do the thing. The internet is magical. And thank you very much, everybody, for your support. Seeing the subscriber count grow and the view count grow, it means a lot. Not that that's why I'm doing this, I'm just doing this for fun. But it's really good to see that people care and are liking what I'm doing. And I hope to keep doing it. Thank you all very much for the support. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.